Hey, so welcome everybody to Pavan's Perspective. I'm excited to have this fascinating, inspiring business leader, Brittney Kosev. Brittney Kosev runs a large brokerage out of Dallas, Texas, built by scratch with her hard work and scratched and grind with her fingernails and built the whole thing, right? And she's got the calluses in her hands and the scars and all the battle scars to go with it to build such a massive enterprise and brokerage and helping, basically giving employment to so many people and helping so many customers just get into homes, build their financial lives, build security. And so we're gonna get inside Brittney's brain today. We've got a special treat for you all. Get inside her brain and learn from her. You're going to learn amazing things. You're going to learn about leadership. You're going to learn about how Brittney did it. So,
and maybe some books too, because believe it or not, Pavan, I am a former librarian.
Oh yeah, I can see all the books behind you.
Yeah, that's what my master's degree is in. Definitely didn't think that I was going to be in real estate back when I was starting my teaching career.
Okay, wow. So you went from librarian teacher to real estate. Actually, there's another podcast I did with Joanna I think she's in Fresno, California. And she was also a former teacher. She went from teacher to
educators make great real estate professionals.
Yeah, so
there's a lot of transferable skills.
So let's talk about your early career and how your education, where you were raised, how you grew up, and then we're going to go into how you made the transition to real estate.
Yeah. Well, I'm from a small town in West Texas. I was raised by a single mother, and I was the first person in our family to go to college. So my mom was a barber. So she was, blue collar. That's how I was raised. Very humble background. And when I looked around, I was like, man, all I see are teachers. Those are the people that I know that went to college. If they can do it, I can do it. So I chose a career, and I'm the oldest of 7. So I was always teaching somebody something. But when I looked around, the teachers were there. I was like, well, I could do that. I enjoy teaching. I enjoy kids. All right, I'm going to become a teacher. I started teaching 4th grade, loved that, got kind of bored, which now in hindsight, I know that entrepreneurs in general kind of get bored quickly with things. They're always trying to level up. I just didn't know I was an entrepreneur at the time. Back then I was like, well, I'm just bored. So let me get my master's. And I, once again, didn't know what I wanted to do. So loved books, became a librarian, and I was in elementary schools, but I ended my librarian career as a middle school librarian. And that was about 8 years ago. Around the same time I was getting a divorce, and, 2 kids. I have an 11 and 13-year-old. Making $60,000 a year does not feed and put them in all the different things they need to be in. So I got my license. I started selling. I did both jobs at the same time for about 2 years. And then finally, when I made $80,000 selling real estate, 60 as a librarian, I was like, what am I doing? If I could give this my all, what could I do? And then the next year I made 240, and then the next year doubled that, and finally got to the point where I decided, you know what, now I want to open my brokerage. It's that every few years thing. I need something else. And so I opened my brokerage January of last year. And now we have about 95 agents across the state of Texas.
Wow. So in what?
About 20 months.
Yeah, 20 months, you got 95 agents. So yeah, how did you do it?
It's surrounding yourself with the right people and waking up every day, believing in your message, believing in what you're doing. I think that I'm a big believer in the law of attraction, right? What you think about, what you put out, you get more of. And I just want to be a source for my agents to grow and learn and better their lives, because real estate, it changed everything for me. I went from having more debt than my salary could ever cover to owning assets, owning a few different companies, and still I'm a single mom. But now we can travel and I can provide for my kids. So it's the best of all of it.
So when you went from being an agent to starting your own business, I would imagine you were scared. Must have been some fear and anxiety.
So much anxiety, so much fear, but I think that if you're not a little scared of what you're doing, then it's maybe not the right thing. You have to have a little fear to propel you, right? I wake up every day wanting to make the most money possible, to educate the most agents, to be a great example. And a lot of the reasons I want to do that is because I'm scared of letting them down. I'm scared of not succeeding. And that fear kind of fuels me. So fear is good.
So when you took the plunge, it's like, okay, I'm gonna put the capital out. I'm gonna start my own brokerage. How did you get past the anxiety and that? Well, first of all, how did you even make that decision? Like, you know what? Did you just like wake up one day and say, I'm gonna do it, or was it a kind of a thing you had in the back of your head that you worked on for a while?
No, not necessarily. It wasn't something I dreamed about. I started getting good at real estate. I started wanting to expand what I did inside of real estate, right? Most brokerages want you to be either a commercial agent or they want you to be a residential agent. They try to put a hat on you. And I didn't want a hat. I wanted a whole carousel of hats that just got to spin around me. And so I saw a limitation with the current brokerage I was with, not in a bad way. They're wonderful people. But I wanted to make the decisions of what I did. And so for me, starting the brokerage was kind of just, I want this. But then I was mentoring several agents at the time. They came over with me. And so then I had all these people that I needed to make sure were successful. And so thankfully I have that education background and I love teaching. That I've missed teaching, being in real estate since I left. And so I come up with lesson plans is what I call them. I come up with a curriculum for my agents and it's just been a lot of fun helping them grow and helping them become successful through the education that we can provide. Like, for example, this month is August and I do themes, remember education, teacher, and August is marketing month. And so all month long, I've been teaching them, this is how you do a Google page. This is how you push out content on social media, best practices, newsletters, mailers, geo-farming, all the stuff.
Gotcha. So now, starting a brokerage takes a lot of capital. It's not for the faint of heart, right?
Yeah.
And when you made that plunge, you said, I'm going to start this brokerage, and you got to write that big check. How did you feel at that moment, and how did you deal with that anxiety? Because that's where most people, when they want to do a project, right, that's what stops them. Is that there's that dividing line, and then the second thing I see people do wrong is, okay, let's say they somehow get the courage and make that investment, make the initial first step, but then they're in, but they're only halfway in. Right. Yeah. And they don't proceed forward like on an all-in basis. So they end up losing everything. Right.
The financial commitment, it's something, I think about every day. Of course, I'm looking at the checking account. I'm looking at the savings and some months, this is a hard market we're in right now, this very year. I think I started the brokerage right when things started going downhill, but most brokerages this year did not make money. I am proud to say that we are not in the red, that we didn't break even, that we've had some very profitable months. And I'm very proud of that. Now, have I paid myself back yet for all of the initial contribution? No, but I'm going to get there. It's going to be great. But at least now that we're operating in the green and that's been awesome. But there was about 4 months ago, I was getting to one of those moments where you're just like, what the hell am I doing? Is this smart? I'm just pouring money into education, into salaries and all of my operating expenses. And then what? Like an agent will leave and I'm like, oh man, it's all business though, right? But I read this amazing book called The Dip, and it's all about how, what separates the people that are starting here and they hit that dip and then they either stay there or they leave the path. But there's only a handful of CEOs out there. And it's not like the CEO job is actually that hard. It's because though that they climbed over and they kept going to get to the top. And I'm trying to lean into the dip right now and get my way to the top.
Yeah. And that's what I was talking about. I mean, you said it better. It's the dip. That's what I mean by a lot of people don't go in all don't go all in. So they make the initial investment, and don't blame yourself. I've seen this happen with big private equity ventures, private equity backed ventures, right? And so these are supposedly really smart people who backed a lot of big companies, and they go into a startup with a half pregnant mentality. And there are so many really good startups with really good ideas in the dustbin and with really smart people because they don't get past the dip.
Yeah.
And there's a disconnect between the capital and the management and also the employees. Like the three are on three separate pages is what I see as a common problem. Right, the board doesn't agree with the management, who doesn't agree with the employees, and and those things just blow up. Right?
Yeah.
So in your case, so you had that dip moment, and you've broken past it. So talk to us. What did you do? It's about mindset. What in your mind? How did
it was
you get past it?
100% about mindset, and it's something you have to work on every single day. I mean, like I said, I'm a big believer in the law of attraction, but in order for it to be successful, you really have to believe it, right? And so I always talk about Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was a kid and he was sitting in his Austrian home. He was lying in bed and he would just stare at these posters of these American bodybuilders, and he would picture himself there someday. And any decision, any other path, he didn't take it unless it led him there. And look at him now, right? And so I really try to make sure that I'm visualizing myself where I want to be, right? I want to be the next Keller Williams. We're going to be a nationwide brokerage that's successful with agents that are thriving in every marketplace. And I'm just picturing it, right? And I have my affirmations. I write it down. I keep my mindset. I keep my energy level high. And that's really helped me succeed.
Awesome. So let's talk about that. Affirmations. Can you share some of those?
Yeah, you know what? I'll do one better for you. I have You Were About Us, another good book recommendation. It's by Jen Sincero. But every single morning, I write down my affirmations, and some are the same, some change, some are when I need them. But I have some pretty strong ones that I just say every day. And I listen to my inner voice and wisdom to seek alignment daily. That's what I was writing this morning. Don't neglect that inside voice.
You said that really fast. Say it again.
Yeah. It says, I listen to my inner voice and wisdom, and I seek alignment daily. Gotcha.
That's a good one. So give me an example of that.
Well, I think I like to call it energetic breadcrumbs. The story of Hansel and Gretel, and they're on their way to the forest and they're dropping their breadcrumbs. But we're the same way. We're not, dropping physical breadcrumbs, but we can follow the energetic breadcrumbs that we see. So when we're doing things that feel right, they feel good, they give us passion, they give us energy. Those are energetic breadcrumbs, right? Meeting you today, Pavan, this is a breadcrumb on my path to success. It's like glitter on the path for me. And I seek things like this out, and then I affirm that this feels good, this feels right.
Gotcha. All right. So in other words, when you feel something is right, go with it. Don't fight it.
Yeah. And when you get a nagging feeling in your gut, that doesn't have to mean that it's a bad thing. It just means you need to stop and think about it a little bit.
Gotcha. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean is pay attention to your inner voice, and it's so easy to get distracted by quote unquote logic. It's not really logic, but it's logic. Your mind constructs logic to justify what you want to do, right? But your inner voice is telling you what you need to do.
And we think sometimes too that negative emotions are real, but they're not. Negative emotions in general, emotions are just our mind's way of recognizing a situation. But what I like to do, what my life coach has taught me to do when I'm meditating or just during the day when a bad thought comes in, you just say, thank you for sharing. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Because it's our brain, right? We're fight or flight. We are stemmed from our ancestors who were getting chased by saber-toothed tigers and had to survive. And so our emotions were triggers of safety, and our brain wants to keep us safe. Well, you can't live and grow a profitable business by being safe all the time.
Yes. I like that. Thank you for sharing. I love it. I've never heard it said that way. I learned something really good today. So in other words, you get a negative thought, and most of us, right, you get a negative thought that's it's usually something from the past, right? It's usually something bad that happened in the past. You get the negative thought, and then it's
usually childhood trauma, right?
Right. And it stirs up a bunch of emotions, and then we end up hyperfixating on it. Instead, just say, "Hey, that's a good thought."
Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you for sharing, and just let it come and go.
But what happens is, like me, for example, because I grew up in poverty, I had a lot of bad thoughts surrounding money, right? Money is a bad thing. Rich people are awful. You have to work so hard to make money. Money doesn't grow on trees. All of those stupid sayings, they were embedded in me. I mean, I remember my dad coming home angry before my parents got a divorce and talking about money. And I remember my mom just always being stressed about money. And so I had to think that thought pattern. And those affirmations, as corny as they are, I say things like, money flows to me easily, right? And it does. It does. And it can. And money doesn't have to be so damn hard to make. If you're doing what you love and you're following those energetic breadcrumbs, money follows too.
I love it. I mean, so in other words, let the bad thoughts flow through you, and reaffirm the positive thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
And try to.
Then the rest will just happen.
I mean, you have to have. Affirmations only get you so far, right? Affirmations, visualization, that's just priming your brain. But in order for you to succeed, you have to take steps, right? But that affirmation helps get you like, okay, I can do this. I got this. So then when an opportunity presents itself, you're not going to sit there on the fence and try to decide what to do. I think Grant Cardone says it too. It's massive action. You can't just take action. You got to take massive action. Opening a brokerage and starting paying salaries that I'd never paid before and operating expenses that I did not have before. And then, of course, the time constraints. That was scary. That was really scary. But I believed in what I was doing. Yeah. Still do.
Right. That's the other key element I see with success is just people who believe in what they're doing and they go to the end. Right?
Yeah.
They spend their whole lives in that, and they usually, I can say that I've seen people pursue that path and not necessarily achieve massive success in you would define as business success or monetary success, but I have seen them achieve massive success internally.
Yeah.
They at that older age, they're happy. They live the life without regrets.
Yeah, absolutely. So many people have what they, whatever it is they want. If it's trying to accumulate a certain amount of money, or if it's trying to have financial freedom so you can travel, or if it's building a legacy, you have to know what it is that your goal, what you're fighting for. For me, it's my family. So I told you I'm the oldest of 7. 2 of my siblings are actually salaried employees at my company. I work with them every day. And my mom is also on the payroll. And when I met you that day, several of my agents, my mom, my children were in attendance because they're part of what I do every day.
That's awesome. And so not only are you teaching your agents, but you're teaching your family. You're lifting everyone with you.
Yeah, I feel like that's what it is, right? But also they lift me. I could not do what I'm doing if I didn't have the support of them.
That's a good point. So, in my position, I'm also teaching most of the time. I'm probably not as good a teacher as you are, but one of the things what I enjoyed the most about teaching is that you learn more as a teacher than you do as a student.
That is such a good point, Pav. And there's another story. The first group of African American naval officers were pulled from all over the United States during World War II. And they were put in Naval Training Academy, and the officers that were training them were not very kind to them, and they were forced to learn the content so much faster than their counterparts. But what they ended up doing was they became experts in different things, and then they would teach each other at night. And then through learning and teaching it, they got even better. And then they ended up becoming naval officers and going on to have their own legacy. But through teaching, we can become better at the content.
That's exactly right. So one of the things I do in my engineering team, for example, is I require the engineers to present their projects to the other engineers, and have this cross
almost like cross collaboration.
Yeah, cross review process. So they have to critique each other. So they have to, by presenting their designs and their ideas in a way that other people can understand, other people who are somebody's working on user interface and somebody's working on database, right? It's two completely different, unrelated fields, right? So this guy for the database guy to understand the user interface guy, the UI guy has to explain it.
And explain it well, yeah. And it's probably for engineer brains, it probably doesn't come naturally to them either. They're like, why don't you just get it?
Yeah, exactly. But in that process, we get a better product, because then the engineer truly understands. First, the whole team is now understanding the bigger picture. And second is that the engineer has a better understanding of his own work. And you'd be surprised when you bounce your ideas off someone who doesn't know anything about what you're doing, you'd be surprised how much you're going to learn. Because
you can also see the problems in the design or the concept or the bottlenecks that could happen or the holes.
Yeah, because that other person has a perspective that it will come at it from a perspective that he never even thought about.
Yep. I love that. That's a great idea.
Yeah. And
in fact, a lot of our Friday meetings today included different agents from the brokerage will teach the content. So today I had one of my agents who's just awesome at social media. She's so good at it. Her videos are great. She taught the class today instead of me. And it also empowers the people that you care about, right? The people that are top producers. It makes them feel seen and heard, and then they get to better themselves. It's like a stretch opportunity. And I'm a big believer in giving people stretch opportunities.
Okay, so now we have a lot of loan officers and a lot of realtors watching this podcast. So for the realtors that are watching and they want to get to know Brittney better, how do they contact you?
I'm on Instagram it's @BrokerBrittK. And then we have a website, www.bkrealestatetx.com.
Okay, so I'm going to say it again,
bkrealestatetx.com. I have offices in most major markets in Texas.
All right, so BK as in Brittney Kosev, realestate.com, bkrealestate.com, bkrealestatexas.tx.com.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and what's your Instagram handle again?
Broker Britt K.
Broker, BROKER, BRITK.
_K. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let me say it again. So Instagram handle @broker Brit, BRIT _K.
K. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So make sure you all connect with Brittney. And of course, all the loan officers watching are going to connect with you. So you're going to get flooded with loan officers.
Well, collaboration's always welcome.
Oh, well, okay. All you loan officers listening, if you don't act on this while she said that, we'll separate the,
the hungry ones from the ones that just like to look at the food.
Yeah, the high energy ones, I was going to say.
I need those breadcrumbs. That's right.
So I'm sure, a top agent and the top brokers like you get hit up by loan officers all the time. What's your advice to loan officers especially a new loan officer who's trying to break in to the business, trying to break in and trying to get business from realtors?
Well, I will say this, that realtors are going to be their best referral source, right? They can do consumer direct marketing, cold calling, mailers, but working with realtors and having referral partners is definitely the best way. And what I always look for in a great loan officer is a good connection and then good communication. And honestly, like meeting people at networking events, following up with them. If someone tries several times to get in touch with me and they don't give up, that shows me that they're going to follow up when I give them a deal, right? And so I might ignore them several attempts, but if they keep trying, I'm like, wow, if they're working this hard just to get in touch with me, how hard are they going to work on a file that's tricky?
That's absolutely. And I also define the other thing that loan officers need to do as good communication is when something doesn't go right.
Oh,
yeah, this is the real estate business. Things are going to go wrong.
Can I say my number one pet peeve in all people, everyone, is playing a victim. I am all about extreme ownership. That's another great book, Extreme Ownership. But, in every situation that doesn't go the way you planned, there's always something you could have done better. Even if you feel like you were treated wrong or it was out of your control, what could you have done better? Could you have stepped up a little faster? Could you have contacted the underwriters more? Could you have communicated it better? Could you have answered your phone? Like whatever it is, what could you have done better? And I hate it when loan officers will say, oh, sorry, Brittney, we need an extension. And it's all the underwriters. I mean, I can't do anything about it, or it's this, or it's that. I can't do anything about it. Yeah. Stop. Okay, cool, whatever. But say, you know what? I'm going to get right back to it. I'm going to call them. In the future, I'll make sure I stay on top of them. That's 1,000 times better than just blaming someone else.
Yes. I teach this to my loan officers all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Because you think by saying it's because of this, it's because of that, you're going to kind of get off the hook with your client, right? But it's actually doesn't. It's the opposite.
Yeah, you might buy yourself a little time or a little breathing room in how you think you're getting perceived, but in the end, people can see through it.
Yes, in the end, is you just look weaker. So it's easier to take the punch up front, the one punch up front, than the 500 that's going to come later.
Yeah, the death by many cuts, right?
Because your customer will lose all confidence in you. The minute you start pointing fingers, they're just going to go elsewhere.
Yeah, so true. So true.
Because at the bottom line of every sale, and you know this as a top agent, the bottom line of every sale is confidence. Confidence, strength, and consistency.
Yep. I love that. So
5 years from now, Brittney, you're bigger than Keller Williams?
Well, it was on my 10-year plan, but I'll take 5. I'll take 5.
And since you have, in 20 months, made a brokerage profitable, brand new business from scratch, profitable, and
I will say this, I don't charge fees to my agents either. We're not like a lot of brokerages that have a monthly recurring fee. So I don't make money unless they make money. That's one of our big tenets at the company is we don't make money unless you do.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a home run right there.
Yeah. Well, that means that I've got to be a damn good teacher.
Yes. And you got to be a good teacher, a good coach.
Yeah.
And just help them build their business.
That's right. Well, I wake up every day wanting to do that.
Excellent. So 5 years, you're bigger than Keller Williams.
Yep. Okay. Right. I mean, it really was 10. I follow the...
Accelerating it.
Yeah, you are. I mean, you're like cutting it in half there, Pavan. Jeez.
Remember, Brittney, nothing is beyond reach.
No, nothing is beyond reach. That's right. I follow the EOS system, the entrepreneurial operating system, traction. And he says, you should have a 10-year vision, right? And then you scale it, then you go back to 3 years, then you have your 1 year, and then you break that 1 year into rocks every quarter. What's going to get you to the 1 year that's going to get you to the 3 years? But you have to start with that big plan, that 10 years. And so mine was 10,000 agents across the nation in 10 years. So, but now I've got to have 5. Jeez, Pavan. I'm going to have to work twice as hard.
But no, you're going to have twice as much fun.
I'm going to have so much fun doing it. That's right. A book I'm reading right now, too, is called Get Scalable. And it's all about creating the systems so that you can scale in the right way. And so I need to read that one a little faster if we're going to be moving faster.
Yep, gotcha. I think realtors, especially now with buyer's commission changes and our rule changes, I think it behooves realtors to get involved more and see what's happening in the mortgage space, because a deal doesn't close without financing.
Yeah, and 95% of our deals are financed.
Yes, exactly. And then you get out there and you get to see what's actually happening on the financing side of the world and all the different kind of products and so forth. And I think it's time for realtors to really kind of expand that mindset. Absolutely.
I think we get intimidated sometimes, realtors do, intimidated by the loan portion, the math stuff, and they just let it, oh, well, that's their job. But you have to have your finger on the pulse, both in a macro sense, what's going on in the world, what's going on and then a micro sense. So important.
Realtors, don't like to think about the numbers and the complexity of mortgages. They're like, okay, well, let somebody else handle it. That's what AngelAi is there for. You, as a realtor, you use it, and we have so many realtors that just like live on it now because they get their answers immediately, and it's like it takes all the calculations, all the headaches away from you. So then you become a better consultant to your buyers, right? And you have a better relationship with your loan officer.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I've had several of my agents did demos with AngelAi and are loving it.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And of course, for realtors, the number one thing it does for you is the lead prospecting and all the websites and all the marketing, and it's all free.
It's amazing.
And is there any events or anything, I know you talked about you have like a weekly education seminar within your office, but other agents that are interested in getting to know you better, do you have like regular open houses or things like that? How does someone like say, you know what, I want to experience, I want to have the Brittney experience. How do they get a sample of that?
So we regularly invite people, because one of the things that sets us apart is our culture. We really do believe in lifting up that positive mindset, that growth mindset. And it's hard to explain without seeing it in action. And so on our website, the bkrealestatetx.com, there's a join us button, and on it's a contact form. And people could reach out there, and then we can invite them to come to one of our Tuesday sales calls or our Monday mindset call. I always lead that one. That one's a ton of fun. But Tuesdays is our big sales meeting where we go over marketing tips, negotiation, objection handling, just anything to make them a better agent.
So the Tuesday sales call is all by Zoom?
It's virtual. People could tune in anywhere.
Gotcha. So bkrealestatetx.com. Go there and fill in the contact form, and probably the most effective use of your time would be to attend that Tuesday sales call.
Yeah. Or if you want to do both, you could do a Monday mindset call, get you going, and then come Tuesday and learn.
Yeah. So there you have it. Free coaching, right?
Yeah. Free coaching.
All right. Any last words you want to leave off with the audience? Any gems of advice?
I mean, my biggest piece of advice, what I preach, what I live by, what I believe is, if you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. If you don't believe in what your goals are, no one else will. And the first person you've got to teach is yourself, right? And so start with you, start with your mindset, believe in it wholeheartedly, and then just keep moving forward.
And the best thing I heard you say, which I'm going to practice, is when those bad downer thoughts come from the past, when the past comes to haunt you, those thoughts come in, just say hi, hello, and thank you, and move on to the next one.
Move on. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for sharing. Let's move on to the next one.
That's right.
Don't hold on to it. Let it go.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me on, Pavan. This was amazing.
It was amazing. You're an incredible guest.
Thanks.